Hey guys, Blake here with another video, and today I'm going to teach you how to eliminate that duckweed for good. So let's jump straight into the video. First of all, duckweed is a major pain in the rear end, and a lot of people get bothered by it, and it really is a struggle for a lot of people to get rid of. So I've got a number of techniques today here that will help you to get rid of it, and importantly enough, it'll also help you to get rid of it between other floating plants that you like. For example, I'm a big fan of red root floaters, and it is super annoying when duckweed gets in amongst red root floaters because then it makes it really difficult. You can't really sell it, and there's a lot of problems that come along with it. I will just start off by saying getting a net and scooping it out of the aquarium seems a little bit too obvious, and I think that all you out there watching are a bit smarter than that. So I would suggest that if you want to start to get rid of your duckweed, you can certainly get the bulk of it out with a net and just throw it on your yard. It's really great for if you have chickens or anything like that that can actually eat it. But other than that, it makes for good fertilizer. It is full of nitrogen after all. But I don't actually count getting a net and scooping it out of the aquarium as a method of removal because it just seems too obvious. So we will get straight into some maybe less obvious means right now. So the first thing I'm going to suggest is to not spread it around. It kind of goes without saying, but I would say cross-contamination is a huge one. So don't put plants from a duckweed tank into a non-duckweed tank. You're bound to get little pieces of it. Also, if you've only got one net, buy a second net and keep one net for non-duckweed tanks and one net for duckweed tanks, because eventually there'll be a piece in a net and you won't be paying attention. You'll have to catch a sick fish or something and you'll get complacent, and then all of a sudden there's duckweed in there, and then all of a sudden you're miserable because yet another tank has a duckweed infestation, and it's a real pain. Probably going to be your favorite aquascape as well, and it's probably going to have nice little fiddly bits of driftwood and stuff hanging above the waterline, which is going to be real annoying to try and pick it out. Second of all is be careful when you do buy plants from shops and other hobbyists and stuff like that. Similar to the cross-contamination one, you just don't know if there's duckweed in that. Also be careful if you buy fish. Sometimes there'll be little bits of duckweed in the bag, so I would recommend always putting it in a quarantine tank first. That way you can give it a few weeks of quarantine anyway, which is always a good practice to have. And then if you start to notice little pieces of duckweed in there, well, you've relieved yourself, because you can be very, very careful with the net, or use one of these techniques that I'm going to show you in just a minute to remove that duckweed from the tank, and then you won't be introducing it into all your tanks. The third thing on the list is to get some nice even flow across the top of the water column. What you might be thinking is, but Blake, I've got a sponge filter and the bubbles create a big old flow on the top, but there's still duckweed in there. And what you probably notice is that the bubbles go up and then in a circular motion like that. There's probably no duckweed around the radius of your sponge filter. But what you really need is crossflow. So this is continuously going to push the duckweed over to this side of the aquarium where the inlet of the canister filter is, and then eventually when it gets piled up on the side, it will push it down under the water and then through the inlet. So I would suggest that you need something that's going to be more circular flow than that's provided of a sponge filter. You could possibly achieve it with a Powerhead at the point of your sponge filter, but I haven't tried it out for myself, so I'm not going to recommend that to you today. Number 4 is actually through animal control. There are a number of fish that actually eat duckweed. Probably the most common one is goldfish that people are aware of, but goldfish aren't suitable for every aquarium. So I'm going to let you in on a few secret other ones that people might not realize are quite fond of a bit of duckweed. I've actually found my Bozemarty rainbow fish to be pretty big fans of duckweed, although I can't speak for all rainbow fish, or maybe I've just got weird ones, who knows. But experiment with fish maybe in a contained environment, and you can find out pretty quickly which ones are going to eat it and which ones aren't. For example, I put some in with my silver dollars and they couldn't care less about eating it, so each is their own in that case. But in terms of a species that is actually well known to eat duckweed, the dwarf gouramis are a big one. Honey gouramis, I think it's the banded gourami and just common dwarf gouramis reported to actually eat duckweed, so that might be a worthwhile experiment you want to conduct as well. And if all those methods fail, or you have yourself a shrimp tank or something like that you can't exactly put new fish into or create a heap of flow within, then I do have one other mechanical option for you. And that is this here, surface skimmer. These can be found super cheaply on eBay, but a lot of times you might need to get a little adapter for the plug because a lot of them do come out of China, especially the cheap ones. You can get expensive ones as well. I think Eheim do one as well, but for me this has done a pretty good job. So what it comes with is you basically have a head here and that floats up and down at the surface of your water level, so some air gets trapped just underneath the top part here, and that's what will allow it to be buoyant. Then the duckweed will go inside the gaps here and down, whereby they will go through this area and get caught on this sponge here. Actually, you can see here some old duckweed from the last time I've used it, so there's the recommendation right there. I have replaced the original sponge that came with it with a more coarse sponge, still fine enough to not allow the duckweed to pass through, but I've just found that that allows me to not have to empty it out as often, because a small thing like this, we do have to empty it out pretty quickly, especially if you've got a bad infestation of duckweed. So what we'll do is I'll stick it in this tank here, we'll get it turned on and you can see firsthand how it works. Okay, so to set it up, it's just the same as any internal filter. You just suction cup it to the side, and as you can see, this part here is buoyant. What's going to happen, there's a little power head down here at the bottom which is going to shoot water whichever direction it faces. So in our case, it's going to shoot it towards the back of the aquarium and create a sort of flow around. And then what's going to happen is to get the water to shoot out the bottom, it's obviously going to have to come through the top, and that's how our duckweed is going to get sucked in from the surface. So I'll just plug it in now, we can take a bit of a look. And as you can see, it makes short work. I do find that it's handy to just stand by it and sort of push it in, but in no time it will be pretty full, and that's when we just have to take the top off it and empty it out. I'm sure that larger versions of this would be more effective and less prone to clogging, but there is a really big benefit to this size, which we'll touch on just shortly. Okay, so it's sort of a bit clogged up now, which is to be expected. You can sort of periodically push it down like that, and it does sort of compact it down towards the bottom of the collection area. But for now, I think at this point we'll just sort of empty it out now, so I'll show you how to do that. So first of all, just get yourself a container. Obviously this one has had duckweed in it before, so keep in mind cross-contamination still, because we don't want all our good work from getting new nets and all that to be undone now. So I'll just sit that aside, that's where we're going to empty it into, and then I don't turn it off, I just leave it running, but what I do is drag it all the way up to the top and actually out of the aquarium, and that's when I just take it off here. I've found at times when I have actually left it in the aquarium and taken the top off, the duckweed has all escaped and gone everywhere, so I don't think that's an idea that I would recommend. And then at that point you can see all that nice duckweed in there, so we just give it a good shake. You don't have to be too crazy, and then that's all the duckweed there that's been effortlessly collected. And it's an activity that's really easy to do. It's sort of, I find it really handy, a great practice just to sort of have this going whilst I'm feeding the fish or whatever, and I can keep coming back to it every 5 or 10 minutes, and in no time it'll get all the duckweed out. An important thing to do is what I'm doing here is run your finger along the edges of all of the aquarium, because if there are bits that are stuck up on the glass and you leave them in, the next time you top up the water, they'll hit the water column again and you'll be back to square one. Also, another point is you want to get it basically as low in the aquarium as you can without having this tube be at the end of the area there, because that's going to give you the most amount of area to collect duckweed within. So that's a bit low there, so I'll just bring it up a little bit. And here you can see some evidence of why I really like this size surface skimmer, even though it might be a little bit more labour intensive. And that's because things like this frog bit here, I actually do want in the aquarium, and this red root floater that's not overly red at this stage. But you can see here that the openings are just the right size for the duckweed to go through, but not the frog bit. So what I do is if I've got plants like red root floater or whatever that I want to separate the duckweed from, I just sort of poke around like this and then wait for the duckweed to be separated from it. You can also temporarily poke it under the water and move it away, and then the duckweed will stay over here, and the plants that you do want to keep will be safely in the aquarium and you don't have to buy any more. Also, one more tip, because I can already hear that some people out there will be saying, you know, this is well and good, but I don't have any money and I don't want to buy it and I can't wait for it to come to my doorstep. I need a solution right now. This duckweed is really killing me and it needs to go today because my best friend is coming over tomorrow and he's going to look at my tank and duckweed is an abomination. If you're one of those people, fair chance that you probably have any Powerhead available. Here's an example of a Powerhead, but this is, you know, one of many, many examples. There's probably thousands of different designs of Powerheads available. What you do, you get yourself a plastic soda bottle or soft drink bottle or whatever you want to call it, fizzy drink. Plastic bottle, could even be a water bottle. That's probably easier to say as well. And then what you do is you get whatever the inlet is to the Powerhead that you've got. You get your bottle, I'm using this today because I don't have an example, and then you somehow try to fix it in there. This one, if it sort of is kind of like this where it sits but it doesn't really, there's lots of ways. I'm sure that you guys are inventive enough to be able to figure it out. For me, I'd probably just stick some super glue in around there and that'll be fine. And then what you do is you just either get a large drill bit and drill a bunch of holes around here, however big you want, or you can just cut the entire top off and cut slots to whatever size you like and it will work just as fine. Any old Powerhead will do if you don't want to go out and get yourself a custom, not custom, if you don't want to go out and spend money on a surface skimmer. The downsides to doing this are that you won't have that floating top, so you will have to be careful if you have any fish that are top dwelling fish, or just keep an eye on it really and you should be fine. And just be sure to put some sponge just before whatever the impeller is on the Powerhead that you decide to use, just so the duckweed doesn't just go straight through, shred all through your aquarium and create a lot more issues than you already have. So there you go guys, those are some quick ways to get rid of that duckweed out of your aquarium life forever. For me, I'll probably just put up with the duckweed because I don't have the time or energy to get rid of it, and at the end of the day it does have some benefits. It might look ugly and get everywhere, but it is great at sucking out nitrates, provides great cover for your fish, and it can also assist to control the amount of light that gets through your aquarium to plants, and actually balances it out so that in some cases you save yourself from having algae and things like that. So it is worth considering. Hopefully you like these tips. If you liked the video, please like, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. And I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.